She was 58 years old when the fire came. Until that night, her life was quiet, predictable, and ordinary. She lived in a small wooden house near the edge of a forest in Northern California. It was not a rich life, but it was a full one. Every wall held memories. Every corner carried years of love, effort, and survival. That summer had been hotter than any before. The air felt dry and heavy. News channels spoke about wildfires every day, but like many others, she believed it would never reach her home. On that evening, the sky turned an unnatural orange. Ash began falling like snow. At first, she thought it was a distant fire. Then the smell of smoke grew sharp and choking. Sirens echoed through the hills. A police car drove past her street, ordering everyone to evacuate immediately. She stood frozen in her doorway, looking at the home she had built over decades. She grabbed a small bag, a few photographs, important papers, and left everything else behind. As she drove away, she looked back one last time. Flames were already climbing the trees behind her house. The fire moved fast, too fast. From a safe distance, she watched the night burn. The forest roared like a living monster. Firefighters worked endlessly, exhausted faces, soot-covered gear. They fought walls of fire taller than buildings. Hours later, the truth arrived. Her house was gone, reduced to ash. Nothing left. The next morning, the sun rose over blackened land. Entire neighborhoods erased. Cars melted. Trees standing like skeletons. She stood among the ruins of what used to be her life. No tears came at first, only silence, shock, a hollow feeling in her chest. In shelters, she met others like her. Families, elderly couples, children, all displaced, all broken in different ways. At night, she could not sleep. The sound of fire haunted her thoughts. She replayed the moment she left her home again and again, wondering what she could have saved, wondering why she survived. One image stayed with her the most. The firefighters, men and women who ran toward danger, who stood between the flames and strangers' homes. She watched them day after day, covered in ash, barely resting, saving lives they did not know. Something began to shift inside her. A quiet question formed. Why them and not me? At 58, she had lost everything, but she was still alive, still strong, still breathing. She did not know it yet, but the fire that destroyed her home had just lit a new one inside her. The decision did not come in one brave moment. It came quietly, on an ordinary morning. She stood in front of the mirror, not seeing her age, but seeing everything she had survived. That same day, she walked into the local fire station. Her heart pounded harder than it ever had, harder than the night of the fire. The room fell silent for a moment. A few firefighters looked up, some curious, some confused. She said the words slowly. "I want to become a firefighter." There was no laughter, but there was doubt, concern, and hesitation. They explained the reality, the physical tests, the training, the long hours, the risks. They reminded her of her age without saying it directly. She listened calmly, then said something simple. "I have already lost everything once. I am not afraid of failing." After medical checks and paperwork, she was allowed to try. Not because they believed, but because they respected her determination. Training began before sunrise. Cold mornings, heavy gear, endless drills. Her body screamed in protest. Muscles burned, lungs struggled. Bones ached in ways she had never known. Younger trainees moved faster, lifted heavier, recovered quicker. She fell behind, often. Some days she cried alone in her car, hands shaking, wondering if she had made a mistake. But every time she thought of quitting, she remembered the fire, the helpless feeling, the ashes. She trained harder. Earlier mornings, longer nights. She learned to carry hoses, climb ladders, breathe through smoke, think clearly under pressure. Instructors pushed her, not gently, but fairly. She failed tests more than once. Each failure taught her something new: patience, discipline, mental strength. Whispers followed her. She is too old, she will quit. She heard them, but they did not stop her. Her strength was not speed, it was endurance. Week by week, her body adapted. Her confidence grew. The day came for the final physical test. She stood in full gear, sweat already on her face. This time, she did not look back. The day finally arrived, her final test, the one that would decide if she became a firefighter or returned to ordinary life forever. She woke before sunrise. The chill of the morning made her shiver. Every muscle protested. Her hands were calloused, her lungs tight from months of training. But her resolve burned brighter than ever. At the training ground, simulated fires roared, hoses sprayed, alarms blared. The instructors watched every move, expecting perfection. She carried the heavy hose up the ladder, feet shaking on each rung, her arms screaming with every step. She fell once, but caught herself and climbed higher. Then came the rescue drill, a dummy trapped under debris. The clock was ticking. Adrenaline surged. Her body moved almost automatically. Strength, skill, and will fused together. When the test ended, she collapsed on the ground, exhausted, trembling. The instructors looked at each other, then at her. A moment of silence, and then the word she had been waiting for: passed. Tears streamed down her face. Relief, joy, and disbelief all at once. Her first real call came sooner than expected. A wildfire on the outskirts of the town. She raced toward the flames with her team, heart pounding, every instinct alert. The fire was taller than anything she had imagined. Smoke burned her eyes. Ash covered her face. Heat pressed against her like a living thing. But she ran forward, hoses ready. Every movement practiced, every command remembered. She saved a family trapped in their car, led them to safety. Her hands blistered, her uniform charred, her body shaking from exhaustion. Later, standing among the smoldering trees, she looked at the younger firefighters around her. Some were impressed, some surprised, but none more surprised than her. She had faced the fire, the real fire, and survived. She had become what she feared and what she admired. From that day on, she was no longer just a survivor. She was a firefighter, a hero in her own right. Proof that courage does not depend on age, only on the willingness to rise. After her first real fire, she was no longer the woman who had lost everything. She was transformed. Her fear had been replaced by purpose. Her pain had become her power. Every call she responded to reminded her of that night, the fire that had destroyed her home, that had threatened to destroy her spirit. Now she ran toward danger, not away from it. She trained relentlessly, volunteered extra hours, mentored younger recruits. Her story began spreading through the community, the woman who lost her home at 58 and became a firefighter. Parents brought their children to see her. Neighbors called her for advice. She was invited to speak at schools and community centers. Her words inspired more than admiration. They sparked action. She faced new fires, bigger and more dangerous than the first. Each time she stepped into the smoke, she remembered her own ashes. She remembered the helplessness, and she pushed harder. Her body ached sometimes. The long hours left her exhausted, but she never wavered. Her age no longer mattered. Her spirit was stronger than any flame. One year after she became a firefighter, she returned to the site of her old home. The forest had regrown slightly, charred earth and new trees intertwined. She stood silently, closed her eyes, and whispered a promise to herself. I will protect what I could not save. I will fight for those who cannot. Her colleagues watched her, amazed by her courage, amazed by her resilience. But most of all, they were inspired by her heart. Today, she is more than a firefighter. She is a symbol, a reminder that life does not end when loss comes, that age is never a barrier to courage, and that from the ashes of tragedy, a hero can rise. She smiles now when people ask her how she did it, how she became a firefighter at 58. Her answer is simple. I chose to rise.